hot food. And these guys would always come every morning. They'd say "Jumbo," which is hello in Swahili. And they had asked you ahead of time, would you rather have hot coffee, hot tea, or hot chocolate in the morning? And they would bring your hot drink, and they would bring you a pan of hot water to wash up in. And this was sunrise.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And let me find some. This was a bathroom. More often than not, this was the bathroom, because you just had to find a giant rock to go behind. And everybody was just very courteous and looked the other way. This was from 15,000 feet. This was sunset at 15,000 feet.
Wow.
We went up.
Yeah, that's nice. Is the base considered the starting point?
More or less, but there are like
base camp.
There are 3 or 4 gates.
You got the
where
base and you got the peak. Okay.
And then when you come down here, they gave us a certificate and all that cool stuff. And this was the other Paris Hilton part of it. The place we stayed right after the trek before we went on the safari was this wonderful place, and it was just beautiful. Here we go. Obviously built for the tourist. But it was wonderful. It was wonderful.
So how did the fish get in the
lake? We ordered some fish from a hatchery in Oklahoma, and the guy pulls up in a semi truck, a big tanker on it, and he gets out with his 5-gallon bucket and dips the fish out of the tanks, and then actually wades out in the water and gets the fish acclimated to the temperature of the water while they're still in the bucket before he released them into the pond.
What'd that tank look like? I mean,
they were like several square tanks that set up on the truck. And I offered to help him when he got there, and he asked me if I wanted to get wet. And I said, no, I don't think so. But he weighed out about shoulder deep and released them. And they did really well. We had very few that floated to the top. So,
yeah, I guess you lost a few in that deal.
we lost a few, but not many.
Yeah, about how many did he put in?
Oh gosh, I'm trying to think. We put like 800 catfish in there, and I don't know, 400 hybrid perch.
How'd you know where to shop for fish?
Well, I think actually this company had an ad on Channel 6.
Must have. Yeah, that's right where you.
There was going to be a sports car race down in Dallas, and I decided to go watch it, and within 6 months I owned a race car.
A race car?
And we just went and bought one, and we jumped in. We didn't know any better.
What kind of a race car?
Well, at that time, the sports cars, after World War II, a lot of the military that came back to the United States had seen all of Europe, and they had seen these European sports cars and these fancy race cars that were not common to your 57 Chevys and your American big iron type cars. And the car that I started with was an Austin Healey, and it was a sports car, a little 4-cylinder sports car.
Oh, I remember the Austin Healey. Yeah. And was that your race car?
That was my race car. I had $1,000, my brother had $1,000, and we put it together and we were racers.
Have you ever raced on like Texas Motor Speedway?
Yes, I have. I've raced at Texas Motor Speedway. I've raced at Daytona. I've raced at Laguna Seca near Carmel in California. Raced at Las Vegas Speedway, Mid-Ohio, Road Atlanta, Georgia, and many other places. Phoenix International Raceway, where the NASCAR races there. I've raced there many times over the years.
North Carolina is kind of the headquarters for race cars. How did they get that distinction, I wonder?
Well, I think in the U.S., that was your root of NASCAR. And NASCAR is a uniquely American form of motorsport. And that's where it got started. And so in America, that's the hotbed. And they now have enough infrastructure there that even if you're in other forms of motorsport, that's where you go, because the infrastructure is there, the technology, the people, the knowledge pool to get done what you want to do.
How fast have you gone in a race? How fast are these cars?
About the fastest, the cars we race are limited by the size of the track. Not to say the car couldn't go faster, but your track generally is going to limit your speed. But the fastest I've run is about 150 at Daytona in a 1,300-pound car.
Goodness gracious. What is that Formula racing? Well, Formula One racing, is that
Yeah,
the top?
Formula One is the top worldwide form, and what we race are cars that look like little brothers to those cars. And we've done a lot of that over the years, and they're fun, they're purpose-built. And that's what makes them nice, is they're actually designed for this. And it's actually much easier to race a car that was designed for the sport than it is to take a car that's a street car and try to make it do something it wasn't really made to do.
Sure. Are these cars expensive, the ones that you've driven?
Well, typically the cars that we race, new, could be $50,000 to $150,000 cars. I have never had that kind of money in a car. I've never been able to. That's why I have my little business, and that's why I fix up cars, and I buy used cars, and I prepare them and make them up to that car. I'm the guy that sells that car to someone else, but I've never been able to have that kind of money in a car.
You say these are small versions of Formula One cars?
That's a good way to describe it, or it's a small version of a car that would run at the 24 hours of Le Mans or the 24 hours of Daytona. These are single seat cars with a motor in the rear.
When I was very young, about 5, and I traded a formal dress to a lady who taught oil painting. And my mother and daddy decided I needed to take lessons. So she was my first formal instructor.
So you traded a formal dress for lessons?
Traded a little formal.
For lessons?
Yes.
Well, that sets you off on a pretty long lifetime of doing this stuff,
Yeah,
right?
it's been a wonderful way to go.
Have you made a living as an artist?
As an artist and a florist.
Uh-huh. And did you have a flower shop, or?
No, I freelanced.
Mm-hmm.
I had as many as 15 that I worked for at one time. From Albuquerque and Roswell and up in there to Dallas, from Big Spring to Amarillo this way. And also I designed on the state annual design
What
school.
about those eggs? Beautiful.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Those are ostrich eggs, and they are the regular ostrich, and most of them average from 6 inches to 7.5 inches tall, and they're about 4 to 5 inches across, and they are done with acrylic, and they have to be sanded with very fine sandpaper, and then gessoed, and then you can either paint them with oil or acrylic. The ones that you are seeing have been painted with acrylic, and then they have a final varnish that protects the egg.
How did you start doing that?
Oh, someone just asked me to do it. And that's how I started.
How many of these things do you think you may have done?
Oh, probably 50 or so.
Huh. Well, is it difficult working on an egg? I mean, that's a round pallet.
No, it's not difficult at all.
Canvas, I mean.
You just have to use your imagination. And you have to know a little bit about perspective. And I lucked out there by taking that at Tech.